live. Welcome to the Arsenal Vision live pregame show. My name is Elliot Smith, and you can block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. I am joined by Scott. You can find him on Twitter at @O_that_crab. Hello, Scott.
Yeah, I like that music that we had going. I was kind of grooving.
It was groovy. We are going to be taking loads of questions, hopefully. We'll be discussing all kinds of things, so definitely want to make sure that we get all your questions in and whatnot and so on and so forth. We're going to do the lineup reaction thing, Scott. It is the League Cup, and I think my attitude towards the League Cup probably mirrors your attitude towards the League Cup, but I don't want to presume that that is the case. So why don't you tell me first and foremost what you think of the League Cup, especially in this COVID season, and we can sort of talk about the COVID issue, obviously, with a couple of West Ham players turning up with some positive test results, and then the issue that happened the other day, where the players were actually at the match, I guess, and on the bench for a League Cup game who had tested positive. So how do you feel about this competition generally, but also in light of what we're dealing with this season with the COVID situation?
I mean, in general, I never really loved the League Cup. I think that's basically the general opinion. Until you get to like the semifinals, it really doesn't matter. I really liked the way that Arsenal have almost always treated it as a kids cup and, give everybody else some minutes. So a little bit concerned about, how strong the lineup is. I mean, I guess Arteta did say that he was going to take it seriously, and it looks like he's taken it pretty seriously. This is more first team players than I think I would have liked to have seen.
I mean, do you really feel that it's that strong a lineup? I mean, are you convinced by that? I mean, who in particular are you worried about being in there?
I mean, you got I guess, you got Pepe in there, you got Saka in there. Is Danny Ceballos actually still starting there? I mean, I'm looking at a lineup here. That changed. Okay, I thought I saw that one. And then
it is our boy El Neni. El Neni getting a start, and these are presumably the games he's there for.
Yeah. Okay. So I must be looking at an older lineup, picture there. But yeah, I mean, it's not as rotated as I would like. I would like to see 11 changes, and basically almost no first team players even close to that first 11. But
that feels a little weird to me. All right, so let's talk about this. I mean, look, I get why you want this totally disregarded. And by the way, I think we should emphasize that he changed it a lot, but also so did Leicester, right? So we're facing a weakened Leicester side. So this will be sort of in the tradition of what the League Cup winds up looking like. But I guess what I would ask you then is, like, what about the need to potentially get some players match fit? I mean, we don't have, a preseason. We do have a bigger squad, certainly in some areas than others. And as I look at this, I think we definitely need to get Pepe going, right? Whatever you think of Pepe and how he should be used, and setting the Pepe and Willian debate aside, getting Pepe going is important, and he hasn't played much. And if he might start against Liverpool at Anfield, playing a bit tonight seems to make sense to me. Nelson, a player who we might be loaning out, certainly no problem with him starting.
Yeah, no problem there.
Leno clearly being picked because Matt Macy is trusted about as much as I am for good opinions. So that's not happening. Maitland-Niles, I don't think is first choice in this squad right now. So Bellerin obviously rested. Kolasinac is a dribbling cone that we just put out there to chew up minutes. I think David Luiz maybe is a situation where we'll look to only play him about an hour tonight, but get him back into the flow of things before trotting him out at Anfield makes sense to me. Holding. All right, that's one that you have to question. I think what we'll come to is the Saliba issue in a moment. El Neni and Willock, not starters.
Yeah, don't worry about that one.
It's really Saka, who hasn't played a ton, and Bellerin or Luiz and Holding. That's really it. Leno was I don't think we had a choice. So
and I think you could say on the center back stuff, we're full of injuries. So I guess, it would be either, are you going to play Saliba? And that's really the only question there.
Well, let's get to it here. I mean, Kitchener, Leslie's girlfriend. So wait,
great name.
Yeah. Okay. Congratulations on that news, by the way. What do we think about Saliba not starting? I mean, this is a player that I think really impressed in France, obviously. And the question I have is, does this indicate that he's a lot further away than we thought? Giant Gunner Matt has been very clear that he felt that Saliba wouldn't play that much this season, that the number of teenage center backs that play big minutes in the Premier League is very, 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 very small. And this to me sort of indicates that he's a lot further off than maybe we would have thought.
Yeah, and I mean, he did start at the under 23s in the last match. So, I mean, that was definitely the expectation that, all right, so maybe he's going to be playing, a lot more like that. But this is the kind of match that really kind of makes sense that, your under 23 players, get a chance to play with the first team. So I would have thought that this would have been a good opportunity. Maybe you don't trust him to start a league game, and, that's fine. I would have expected these kinds of cup matches, the early first rounds of this one and the FA Cup, those are the perfect times. The group stage matches of the Europa League, where, your competition's a little bit lower, less pressure. Nobody really cares if you make a mistake quite as much. To me, it's almost a free shot kind of a thing to where he could have played and it wouldn't have really hurt him if, he had done poorly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. I would say that, the issue that, by the way, that comment, but thanks for the haircut. Thanks for the content. I think, also relates to haircut questions, but I don't know whose haircut specifically is being referenced there. So it could be you. It could be me. Another one that I think we have to look at here is this one. Does this mean Ozil, Guendouzi are gone 100%? Surely if they can't even play in this competition. Scott, I don't know what we make of the Guendouzi situation specifically. I understand with Ozil, we are just going to pay him to sit out this season. I mean, yeah. I don't totally understand why we would do that. If nothing else, just like make him play for you in meaningless competition. Surely there's got to be a plan better than literally paying him not to be at the club. If that's the case, pay off his contract and just tell him to leave so he's not a distraction, so his name isn't constantly brought up. But Guendouzi is a trickier one. He is a player who has a career ahead of him and has value. I mean, he is a France Youth International. There's got to be some interest in him. Do we not have some cause to want to get him out there and at least put him in the shop window to some extent? Do you think this is an indicator that maybe he's off and we might have a deal nearly in place, or more just the sense that Arteta is not willing to compromise his standards on what's expected to play for Arsenal regardless of the situation?
Yeah, I think more the latter personally. I think that there's enough of a track record for him that it's not like he needs these, League Cup performances to really sell him on, to other teams. I think he's got plenty of, a long enough track record. His CV is plenty good that, teams, if people are going to be interested in him, they're not going to change their mind after a couple performances in the League Cup. So I think it's definitely, he passed, the boundaries that Arteta set out, and that's just, he draws the line, there's not really a way back in after that. Yeah. And I think on Ozil part, yeah, I mean, it's like, if he's not in the plans, why have those minutes go to him instead of somebody, like, Nelson or, someone else who we want to hopefully have a future with the team. It makes sense, but.
Yeah, I mean, look, I tend to agree with you. I just think like there's got to be a situation here where we can maximize whatever it is that we have with these players. And I don't know what that situation is necessarily, but or how he would navigate it. But I think at some level, we have to find a way to make the most out of those players. So just a quick question, be excited. And why wouldn't you be excited? It's League Cup day. As could Saliba be a surprise start at Liverpool? I'm much more inclined to think that this is indicative of him not being in the plans in the near term to play for the first team. He did play for the reserves, I think, last week. So
was that Friday? Yeah, that match was going on.
Yeah. So my instinct is that it's probably just he's not there yet from what Arteta sees. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I would. It would be a really, really big surprise if he was a starter at Liverpool. Yeah, just I don't think he's there at all. So
yeah, I tend to agree. So let's take that off the screen there. There we go. So you are seeing the lineup now, and you are also seeing my skills as a producer here as I block everything. Again, Leno, Holding, Luiz, Kolasinac, Maitland-Niles, Elneny, Willock, Saka, Pepe, Nelson, and Nketiah. Out of curiosity with this, at first it looked like a possible back four with, Kola and Maitland-Niles as the fullbacks, Holding and Luiz as the center backs. But I guess it's being shown and written up as a back three with Maitland-Niles as a right wing back and Saka as a left wing back. So raises a couple of questions. First and foremost, Maitland-Niles, how interested are you to see him as a right-sided wingback. I think that the people that have been sort of anti-Maitland-Niles, a big argument has been that he's not as progressive, that while he's great defensively and is sort of a shutdown fullback, almost like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because all the three initial name fullbacks are quite good defensively, apparently. But, as a lot of people have suggested, his weakness is defensively. So do you tend to agree that this is a chance for him on his stronger foot to show that he can contribute in attack? He has Pepe on his side. That should be a strong side for us in attack. Or are you less convinced that he has that in his game period?
I mean, I think it is good to see him play on his stronger side. I don't know if it makes a huge difference for him because I don't think he's, terribly one-footed. I don't think his left foot is that bad. He does play a lot as a midfielder, so it's not like he's a 1 foot kind of guy. So I don't worry about it as much when he's on the left. I do think that, it'll be good to see him try that. This is, a lower pressure situation for him to, maybe try those things where he doesn't have to necessarily be super safe. So I guess this is an opportunity for him to actually show if he has that in his quote unquote locker.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to think he does have a bit of it, Scott. I think we'll find out today. I mean, it's not the sternest test against a rotated Leicester side, and he's got Pepe on his side. So, having said that, Brooks Winter says, finally a day off for Oba. And, I think that this is obviously one of the big issues for me is Aubameyang getting the rest. I mean, how happy are you? I know you're upset about thinking it's too strong a lineup, which even me in my reactionary madness does not think it's too strong a lineup for the League Cup. But how excited are you at least to see Oba getting the day off?
I think it's great. I mean, he'll probably go play in the park and, go, score double hat tricks somewhere, something like this. But yeah, I mean, it's good just to give him some rest. We do have a very important match where he's going to be absolutely necessary on Monday. So that'll be, it's the perfect time to give him a rest because there's not going to be a ton of opportunities this season.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it is the case where I think it's fair to say that playing on Monday makes this also a little bit of a different situation, Scott. I take your point about wanting it to be maybe less strong than it is, even though I don't necessarily think it's that strong a lineup. But
it's not 11 kids.
Well, we don't play until Monday. I mean, is there an argument? I put this out on Twitter. You know me. My tendency with these games is all the kids, don't play any starters, throw this competition. We don't even want to be in it to begin with. But I think you can make an argument that with no preseason and Arteta still trying to work out some of the automatisms, the who's going to play in what roles and wanting to make sure everyone stays fresh. And the fact that we aren't playing Saturday, we're playing Monday. This is a free hit for him to take some players and tweak them up a little bit and get some minutes in their legs that they didn't get from preseason. So, I mean, is that a defense of maybe trying to use a few extra players? For example, Luis, I'm not so sure, right? Because Luis doesn't, he doesn't need to play more to be good at football at this point in his career. He needs to play less. But wanting to get him a little playing time before Anfield, having been off with the injury. So how do you feel about the Monday schedule and the fact that we haven't had a preseason as maybe an argument for using players you might otherwise not want to use?
I mean, yeah, so you do get an extra day, at least probably 2 days. So, because, that Wednesday to Saturday is a little bit of a fast turnaround, but Wednesday to Monday, that's relatively easy. So I guess it's, a couple extra days, a way to get some people some minutes. I can see your argument that it's not as big of a deal as it could be. It's not like we're having another match where Spurs could have had a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday kind of schedule going on. So if we had that, then I would have absolutely wanted to see nobody close to the starters. And I really, you mentioned it. I would love to kind of just get knocked out of this competition here. I mean, it's great to win, but if we lose, I don't see that as a negative at all.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. So, it's a no lose in the sense that I don't think people are going to care particularly about whether we are in the League Cup going forward. There are some people that say, we can't turn our nose up at any trophy, but it's not like back when Arsene Wenger was trying to get the 10-year trophy drought off his back, and we had we won 2
trophies in 2 competitions or in 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, all we do is win trophies now. So I don't think it is a huge concern, if I'm being honest. So that's not an issue for me. Let's do this really quickly. Let's just have a little fun. Well, first, let's take care of the business first. Let's get a score prediction in here as we wind our way towards kickoff. really, really tough to pick. What's your feeling about go? I'm putting up a comment that I assume was written by your burner account, by the way. League Cup, waste of time for us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So score predictions, I'm gonna say 3-3. We lose on penalties.
3-3 and we lose on penalties. That has shades of the Reading 7-5 kind of feel to it. So you're expecting a wild day. Do you think we'll see a good
maybe similar? Yeah, maybe similar to our Liverpool League Cup match last year, where that was just lots of goals and all sorts of fun.
Yeah. I mean, so what are you looking for today? I mean, for me, I think like I would be satisfied if the only thing I got from today was like a really elite Pepe performance. That would be fine for me. I mean, would that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him. Yeah, I want to see him. Tucking in a little bit more. See if he can get some. I want 3 or 4 shots, some good shots in good locations. I'd like to see Saka go back into that creative midfielder hybrid role that he played last game. I think that would be really fun to be able to see. I thought he was really good at that. So I think those are the really things that I want to see. Some poacher's goal for Eddie.
Important comment here from Clive PAFC. He says, "Yo, known for his analysis, yeah. I mean, can we parse this? Like, what do you think's going on in Clive's mind here? He says, yo, do you think that's him saying that there will be some good wall passing and interconnectedness between the sliding back three and the half space? What do you draw from that yo comment there? I'm struggling to parse that.
I think he's saying, yo, we need to slow down on our hot takes.
He always wants me to slow down on the hot takes. And I will never, for the people screaming, log off. What is the drill tweet? To the people screaming, log off. I will never log off. Yes. Oh, wait, another comment from Clyde PAFC. Big night for Willock, part of double pivot, surely. Oh, hey, the wife makes an appearance.
Yeah, there she is.
Hey, hi. So despite the criticism of your hair earlier in the podcast, we now have evidence that you have a life partner.
I do.
And based on the fact that you have, it's 2 children, yes. Evidence that you and your life partner have a successful relationship. So congratulations on that.
Congratulations to you too.
Yep. Happened twice for me as well. 2 of the best 15 seconds of my life. So, do you show the game? We were going to show the game, but then there was things called laws, and we tried to break as few of them as possible. So we will not do that.
Hey, K-Man. Yeah, you used to be a lawyer. Is that against the rules to
I did used to be a lawyer, but the reason I'm not a lawyer anymore is I don't know rules. So, it is tricky for me to do that. Let's touch on something pretty important, Scott. I know you have a lot to add to this conversation. So, Aouar and Partey, let's talk transfers. Come on, this is what everybody wants to hear about. Aouar and Partey. Scott, I know you want Aouar. I want Aouar. Everyone wants Aouar. The one that is tough. Oh, FK says break the law. I mean, look, I'm occasionally going to break some laws. I'm not going to lie to you. When they have free samples at the grocery store, sometimes I take more than my share. I won't lie about that. But when it comes to the laws of Barclays, you cannot violate the laws of the Premier League when it comes to broadcast. So what's Scott's XP tonight with his misses? Do we have an XP?
I don't know. 0.5?
Is XG is what he meant. That's good, because I was trying to think what XP could be, and none of it was appropriate or good. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for that. So, funny story about that. I have been aging exponentially and not linearly, which has been a huge problem for me. So here we go. This is the question. If you could only buy one, how much would you pay for Aouar? Scott, let's get it on the record. I don't think there are people who, we'll just leave this comment up for the duration of the show now. There are people who do not think that we should buy Thomas Partey, and those people are routinely ridiculed on social media channels. I am secretly, quietly kind of in that group. Scott, are you in that group? Do you not want Thomas Partey?
Yes. I mean, I haven't been convinced that he does something that Arsenal have to have, especially at the price. I don't think that, given our limited resources, it makes perfect sense to be able to go do it. I mean, I think it's one of those, does he probably make the team better in the short term? Probably, is it a good long-term strategy for Arsenal winning the league within our lifetimes? No, probably not. So I guess that's kind of where I come down on things. I've been, Ted made a very convincing case. That's Ted Knudsen from StatsBomb. That really kind of sold me that I think that if people making the case need to provide the evidence that his stats are missing something, and I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, so here's an interesting thing. Thanks to the people who are patrons of the podcast, we were able to afford to sign up for something called Y-Scout, which means we don't have to just watch YouTube highlight reels anymore. Y-Scout's a really interesting service. And what it lets you do...
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. Well, what it lets you do is it lets you see every single clip of every single involvement of a player in every single game they played. Now you can stitch them together in folders, so it can be all their dribbles or all their long passes, their best moments, or just every moment sequentially. And what it lets you do, because you're watching them one after the other so rapidly, because you're seeing them sort of pop up so quickly, it lets you really start to see the patterns of what they like to do. Scott, can I say something sacrilegious? I'm going to bring the comments back up because I want Clive's head to burst, and then I want to put the screenshot of his head bursting on. There's a lot of similarity in Partey and Xhaka's game. Now, there goes everybody's heads, but I have to level with you. That's what I saw. Am I out of my mind, or do you see those similar? He loves the long ball. He loves to spray it to the wings. He loves to go over the top. I didn't think that he punched the ball in short spaces the way I expected. And there's what I was looking for. There's the reaction from Clive. So in a way, though, you could say the upshot of that is he's Xhaka, but without the same limitations Xhaka has. A little more mobility, just a little bit better in the tackle, a little bit stronger, a little bit quicker. But he's not the athlete I expected. He's not that small space burst past a man kind of player that I thought. I think he's probably a little more Xhaka than I expected. Do you think that's way off base?
No, and I think, you look at where he's played, he's a DM. And so it makes sense that he plays in the same positions that the Xhaka plays. I mean, people talk about him adding things to the attack, and I just didn't necessarily see that. I mean, I think he would have come in and it's like he's a replacement for Xhaka. I don't think that it would have been both of them together. I don't think that would have really solved the midfield. Even if you did, go Xhaka, Partey, Arwar, my French is horrible.
Awar.
There we go.
What is it good for? Absolutely something. Through balls, perhaps. Awar. Good God, yo, what is it? Anyway, go ahead.
No, keep going. You're on quite that train of thought.
Look, if you want me to sing, I'll sing, but I'm not going to sing that.
But yeah, so I just didn't see that if it's going to be those two in a double pivot, adding enough to what Arsenal are missing. And as one of the things that, you look at all the stats in Arsenal's midfield just doesn't have the creativity that you want. You could, point out to a team like Liverpool who does that similarly, but they have amazing fullbacks, and I'm not sure Arsenal's are quite at that same level. I think they're kind of close. I think, Tierney and Bellerin can provide great passing, but I don't think they're quite at that same level to be able to do it. And Arsenal definitely do not have the front three that Liverpool have to just go out there and get their own shots. So I think we need more of that coming from midfield if we want to take that step up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't solve the problem that I want to see solved.
I guess what I would say is this, does Partey make us better right now? Absolutely. Partey makes us better right now. He is an upgrade on Xhaka. The question is Partey a big enough upgrade on Xhaka at the things we need?
Because they're the same age too. So it's not like we're resetting.
He's 27, he's 50 million. You're going to put him on a big wage. So the question is, does a incremental Xhaka improvement warrant that? If you think he's a massive Xhaka improvement, that he's a lot more athletic and a lot more mobile and has more of the range of passing, then if that is your evaluation of the player, I'm all in on that. If your evaluation of the player is incremental Xhaka upgrade, it feels like a resource drain to me. And what I would say is, look, I don't think the Xhaka Ceballos double pivot is what's holding us back. I think it's what's happening ahead of that. Look at the West Ham game. You're the numbers guy. 65 touches in deep or very deep positions, more than we had against Fulham. It wasn't getting the ball to the deep positions that challenged us. It was what we did once we got there, which begs the question then, is it Awar that is that guy? Is it you get Awar? If you can only get one, you get Awar. You survive with Xhaka and Ceballos. You progress the ball forward, but when you're in the final third, when you're in the attacking portion of the pitch, then you have Awar to pick the lock, especially with Saka drifting in at times or Willian and Pepe drifting, and you have a lot more angles of attack because everything we do still goes out to the wing. And I think Awar would give us an option to attack from a different angle, to play through the center of the pitch. So is that your view as well, or do you see it a little differently?
Yeah, so I mean, Awar is kind of difficult of a player to look at because he's definitely that tweener. He's not really a central midfielder. He's not really an attacking midfielder. I think he's been more successful playing as that central midfielder. That's what you could have seen him from, a couple of years ago, where he probably really kind of had his best statistical season. So playing in that role is best for him. They did move him forward last year. But the creative and shot numbers basically stayed the same, which isn't something that you necessarily want to see from a player playing further forward. So I think that, you got to keep him in that midfielder role. I guess you kind of think him as filling a Ramsey-ish kind of thing. They're definitely going to do it in a different way, but, in that same kind of mold where, he's best a little bit deeper, let him have the license to move forward when he wants, but he is definitely a central midfielder versus an attacking midfielder. And I think that is something, though, if we are going to go that route, I think you do need to go with the three in midfield because his defensive numbers aren't great, but they're strong enough to make it so that they can go through. Yeah, you got to stop pronouncing things like an American. We both have that problem. I'm probably even worse in my pronunciation of things. But yes, I think you got to have him in the midfield three and, be able to have the support.
Yeah, look, I think a few things. First of all, this is a key thing. The Partey diss among the stat nerds is downright laughable. I have to admit, I had never really watched him other than the big games. I know he was really good against Liverpool, but like having the Y Scout video now and seeing him, now I get a sense of the kind of player he is. And I do think he's better than Xhaka, and I don't mean they're the same player. But I still don't know that I think fixing central midfield fixes us as much as fixing attacking midfield. And if we sign Partey, for example, and no one else, I still don't think we can play I don't know that we have that solution. So you're still playing in the back three. There's a really interesting Substack.
Or I think you have to switch to having a more true number 10 on the pitch. So, I mean, you are going to a three. It's just, a three in the attacking band.
Good help for you on the Awar pronunciation there, by the way. Yeah. So look, I think like if you look at there's a Substack newsletter that I read called No Grass in the Clouds. It's really good. And they did a great article on Arsenal talking about shots and just our inability to get shots and the importance of shots. And it turns out, and this is the kind of insight that you come to the show for, shots, very important in football. They help you score goals, which of all the stats that I follow, it's one of the ones I try to track the most, goals, especially goals scored. So what I would say is we don't get shots. Our shot decline over the last few seasons is alarming. And if you look at the ratio of shots we take to the shots we concede, we are below mid-table. And there's a lot of data that says if you don't turn that around, you have no ceiling. That if we want to be a top four team, that's the first thing we have to start doing is getting more shots. And Partey may be important, but whatever you think the weaknesses are of this team, I don't see that position being the position that unlocks our attacking potential. I still think there has to be, and I'm not saying a number 10, the game has moved on from the mercurial number 10 who shall not be named. The game is now about two-way players in midfield who can drop back and help in defense and get forward and help create chances. There's not a lot of Kevin De Bruyne's out there, but like, could Awar play that role? Maybe. And Clive says Partey is better than all our base CMs. We need both types. I don't disagree.
Yeah, I think that is true. And we're talking about we're not dismissing him as not a good player. We're, I think, coming at this from the perspective of the amount of improvement in the team for the amount of money that you have to spend to be able to get there. So I think that is the bigger key. And then also looking at it from what happens 2 or 3 years from now. That's, we're talking about replacing a player in Xhaka who's basically with a player who's the same age. So we're going to still be in that same boat 2 or 3 years from now, looking that we need to replace him instead of bringing in a player who is an improvement, which I think is a place that we need to do, because I think Xhaka sets the ceiling for this team quite a bit when he is our deep lying playmaker /DM. So I think, making an improvement on Xhaka is important, but making an improvement on Xhaka that will improve or stay with the team that has a peak that's going to be here for 4 or 5 years. I think that is where, if you're going to spend 50 million or more, that you need to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I think that the formation we're in, the system we're using, has natural limitations, right?
I don't know. To me, this looks like a yes, I know it's written as a back three, but the way things are played, you look at the pass maps, you look at the touches, it's basically a back four.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing that's hard with Arteta, I don't want to get too stuck into formations, because once we're in possession, we totally change our formations, and the players have to be able to offer that. We talked incomings, we talked about Aouar and Partey a little bit, but like one of the things that I think becomes a question then is like, when are we going to, and to be fair, Partey is 27, Jesus, he's not 37. I totally agree. I want to be clear on one thing. I'm not saying he's past his best. I'm saying if you're going to put a lot of money into a player, and you know that at the end of that contract, it is unlikely you will get money back for that player, right? So like if you buy Torreira and he doesn't work out, you probably sell Torreira for what you paid for him, because he's, entering his prime, he's still a player with talent, and someone's going to gamble that money on him. As far as Partey, like no matter how good he is, it's unlikely that we'll get money for him. So we need him to be really, really good and move us up a level. Clive asks, will Aouar kill Saka? And I want to be clear about this. I just generally don't think players should ever kill each other. I think if possible, all murder should be avoided. I know that is breaking down barriers. Yeah.
The hottest take today.
Yeah. So one of the things though that I think is important, like, look, I think we'd be fine getting both Partey and Aouar, but like to do that, I think we need to sell someone. So who are we going to sell? Because this is a great question. What if we don't sign another midfielder this window? I think, Scott, a lot of the optimism is built on Arteta and built on some of the encouraging early signs, but I think most people agree, like, we are not getting anywhere if we don't add to the midfield, maybe central midfield, and definitely the more attacking side of midfield. So like, and whatever you think of Saka, and I think Saka could be the 8 of the future, but for right now, we can get him on the pitch and get another attacking midfielder. I don't think it's an either or. Who are we going to sell? I mean, Ozil looks like he's staying. Guendouzi surely needs to go. Kolasinac, Socrates. Is Socrates gone?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
That's still.
We still on him.
The Koulibaly move is what's pending on that one.
Yeah, and then, I mean, are we going to loan players out? So what's your take on outgoings? Because that feels like a pretty big part of this. Torreira not in the squad again tonight, which leads you to think, we're definitely pushing hard for a move, but are we going to get the outgoings? Because I tend to think if we're not confident on that, that's going to have an influence on who comes in.
Yeah, I think Torreira is definitely out. I think Guendouzi is out, and I think those guys will bring back a fee. Socrates is probably gone. I don't know if he's really going to bring anything more than a nominal fee. Yeah, same thing with Kolasinac. I mean, I think he probably needs to go back to Germany, hopefully to Schalke, where he seemed to have more success. But again, I don't think you're really getting a fee for there. I mean, he has to take a pay cut to probably go back to Germany. So I can't imagine that that's something that we'll get any return on. Is that enough to fund both of those moves? I don't know. The finances are kind of murky right now. I hope it is. I'd like to at least be able to get, I think midfield is definitely the biggest hole that we have right now. And I would love to see somebody, that comes in and improves the team.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that you see being sold? I really don't. I mean,
well, what do you think about the homegrown player issue? I mean, because as it is right now, there's going to be some senior players we can't register. So I think there's confusion. People think you need more homegrown players. You don't need more homegrown players. It's just that you can register a maximum number of non-homegrown players. And we've got a lot of them right now. So if we don't sell players, we're multiplying the problem, right? Because not only are we not selling and recouping a fee, but we now have the wages on our books for players we can't register domestically. Like, my guess is Ozil will not wind up being registered in the Premier League team. Like, that's, a lot.
Yeah, if we need his spot, he's not getting registered, and that's unfortunate. But is the Europa League rules a little bit different? Do you have to have a certain?
No, I don't think it matters in Europe. I don't think it matters in Europe. So those players could obviously be registered there, but it is a point that, like, you don't ideally want to have players that not only can you not sell them, but their wages are dead money for you in the Premier League because you're not able to use them. I don't think that's ideal. So moving on from the party and hour thing, I want to finish though with this. Do you think that we will wind up getting Awar and party, Awar or party, party or Awar, party, some form of interchanging of the words Awar and party? What do you see as the outcome there?
I think we get one. I don't think we get both. I think just, the money that's talking about for both of them, we're talking about over 100 million pounds, probably combined. I guess it really depends on if, Atletico are absolutely going to say you have to pay the release clause. If that's anything different, then, maybe we can get a little bit of a discount. You can, spread it out over a couple, years. But my intuition says probably one of them, and I hope it's Awar.
Yeah, I mean, if I can only get one, I'm taking Awar. I mean, I know that's going to come as a shock to you. Clyde PAFC says, I think we get Yossi Benayoun laugh out loud emoji. Let me do the jokes, Clive. You stick to the scholarly analysis with the deep, beautiful voice. Very deep voice. It's just really good to listen to. But yeah, I mean, fine. We can get Yossi Benayoun. Don't laugh, because I'm going to tell you something. Yossi Benayoun was a pretty good loan deal. Do you think that either Guendouzi or Ozil plays a game this season for us?
I think there's a possibility that Ozil plays somewhere. I don't think Guendouzi plays.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we are tilting towards kickoff, so I think let's just get this real quick. Be excited. Ask, what about Zaha, Selaka? If we do Zaha, then I genuinely mind. Like, I have no idea what we're doing. It reminds me when Arsene Wenger needed defenders and just wanted mercurial, technical little guys instead of defenders.
Who needs a defender when you can go sign a 5'4" attacking midfielder?
All the wingers, right? Well, here apparently you're not going to talk about Zaha. With him, Oba could possibly play center forward, but he could already. We could put Saka left and Willian right, or Willian left and Pepe right. There are things we can do and still play Aubameyang at center forward. But that's sort of the thing.
Yeah, and I think you talk about it.
Why won't we play Oba center forward ever?
I don't know. I mean, I think I've come to terms that I'm okay with him out on the left, because I think Arteta is doing better, giving him more of the left forward role. You look at the modern Premier League, and it's okay to have wide forwards out there because they are more forwards. They're not wingers necessarily anymore. So I've come to just be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is tricky, right? Ideally, these young players that you'd want to be protecting wouldn't be 19, 20, 21. They'd be 23, 24, 22, where you really know what you have with them. The problem is we got Martinelli coming off a big injury, teenager. Saka looks like the real deal. So with him, I'm fine. But then a lot of these other young players that we sort of want to nurture through are just young enough that we don't really know what we have in them yet. So it's hard to really decide. I think the thing with Zaha is that first of all, I know I'm going to go stat nerd here. He doesn't do a lot of the goals or assist stuff. I know people think he's really good. He dribbles great. He works his ass off. He's a strong player. He's hard to close down. But he doesn't have a lot of end product to his record. Now you could say that's because he plays for Crystal Palace and they just stink. And he was great against United. I'll give you that.
But again, almost 28. Does that help our problem?
Well, I mean, maybe what we want to do is have a team that can. I know there's a youth football league. What if they come up with a senior football league, a Legends League, and then we just shift Arsenal's team right in the Legends League and dominate that? How about that? No,
that's some galaxy brain thinking right there.
That is some galaxy brain thinking. Oba, Awar, Zaha, Shaka. Are these acronyms going to be on the test? Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, a shout for Smith Rowe can be very creative when back. Yep, maybe so. Oh, how about turn goal at 90 degrees to start and you will fast forward. Genius. Emma Smith Rowe, certainly a shout. Yeah. So, oh my God, the game is starting. Go. Okay, guys, we'll let you go. Game's about to start. Isn't it, what, 5 minutes? 5 minutes?
Yeah, I got 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, good. We do have one vote for Zaha. Makes 0% sense. I don't know what percentage of sense you can make, but 0% sounds about Right. To be fair, Mr. A says, does Noir have 15 assists in 100 plus games? To be fair, also though, I think he's 22, or just turned 23, something like that. So maybe a little more to come from him, and maybe a pass before the pass kind of guy. I don't know. I love that excuse for players when I don't know what to say about them. So this is always a good point.
Yeah, I got 16 or 15 assists in 99 matches.
Yeah. So maybe not great. All right. Well,
but assists are hard to do. So I mean, you kind of think about that's 0.18 per 90, which is really quite at that level of really good. 0.2 assists per 90 is elite level. So it's good.
Yeah. And of course, a shout to, can we all have a laugh at United before we go? Always.
Yes.
We can always have a laugh at United. I want to say thank you. Thanks, gentlemen. I don't know who he's referring to there, but thank you to all of you for joining us. Look, we love doing this. This is a ton of fun. And I think, more than anything, just like the chance to chat and interact and get with the comments. Like, it's the one thing we can't really do on the podcast. So we'll definitely rotate through different people being on this.
And don't lie, you love to play with the toys of producing.
I don't have the Mustafi puppet. I missed that. We did get a little cameo from Scott's wife. So great to see her and meet her on camera. I'm sure she was thrilled about that. Scott's on Twitter at O.
At least she wasn't vacuuming today.
She was what?
She wasn't vacuuming today, making noise.
Yeah, that feels a little gendered. So I'm not cool with that, man. What are you doing? So yeah, I just more than anything, just want to say thanks. So Scott's on Twitter at O_that_crap. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
My name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. Obviously, we will have a podcast. That's the thing we do. Yeah, we'll have a podcast coming up after the game for patrons called an Instant Reaction Pod, and then we will have a full podcast tomorrow, and then just more podcasts, because that's what we do. We do podcasts. Why it's called the Arsenal Vision. It shouldn't be called the Post-Match Podcast anymore. It should probably just be called the Arsenal Vision Podcast, or in this case, live stream. So in any event, thank you so much for joining us. Come on, Arsenal. Big win today. Get through in the League Cup. Wouldn't that be great? And then we can announce Aouar and Partey at full time, which would be splendid. So enjoy the game wherever you are. We love you. And we will talk to you after Arsenal 10.